So this is an episode, a debunked episode based off of the statement unequally yoked, and we're gonna start off at 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 through 18. So 14, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness? So don't be with unbelievers. So like yoked, when you look up what yoked is, it's like when they have like wild animals like oxen or like horses, they put them on a little like tether together so that they can steer them in the right direction. So they're saying don't be like tethered together with unbelievers. And fellowship also means a shared participation with the community. So don't fellowship. So what type of fellowship would righteousness have with unrighteousness? So how could God have like a relationship with unrighteousness, and how could we do that? And then what communion would light have with darkness? So how could God have communion with darkness? The same is for us. 15, and what concord hath Christ with Belial? And what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? So what unison would Christ have with a Belial, which is wicked or worthlessness? And what part had he believe with an infidel, which is an unbeliever? So how would Christ be mixed with wickedness, and how would he believe within, and what part would he believe with an unbeliever? So the answer is within the question. He wouldn't, because that's opposite of what God does, at least in this scripture. 16, and what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, as God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So again, the question is, in what agreement hath the temple of the God with idols? And then the answer is literally right up under it. It's, for ye are the temple of the living God. So it's saying we're the temple of the living God, and how could we have agreement with idols if we're the temple of God? Because if God's with us and God's in us, we can't have that, because God doesn't have idols. God is God, and we don't like associate with that. And then he's saying, God said he dwells in us and he walks in us, and he will be our God and we will be his people. 17, therefore come out from among them and be ye separate, said the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. So us, come out from among the people, be separate, says the God, and don't touch the unclean things. In this case, I'm pretty sure he's referencing the idols. I know in like the Old Testament they also like mentioned like meats and stuff, but I don't think this is specifically talking about that right now. And but that also is also changed in the Bible as well. Not really changed, but like, they said it was fine to eat meat. So, and then it says, I will receive you. And then 18, I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. So, yeah, God is with us. We'll be his sons and daughters, said the Lord. And then another verse that says that actually talks about relationships, because this verse, I feel like this is the verse that a lot of people say is about like not being in a relationship with the unbeliever, but this actually isn't about that. This verse is about fellowship. It doesn't even say anything about relationships. There are scriptures that talk about not being in a relationship with an unbeliever, but this is what we're going to. I'll show you those. So Deuteronomy 7, chapter 7, verse 3 through 4. 3. Neither shall thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. 4. For they will turn away the son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So, this is when the Israelites were, he was talking to the Israelites, and this is what they learned from Moses. And he was saying to them, don't marry these other people because they're going to take you away from God, and they're going to start like listening and praising and worshiping little g gods, not big g God. And he didn't want that, but he told them not to marry those people, and if they did, he would be mad. And he said that for the women and the men. So yeah. And then Judges 3, chapter 3, verse 5 through 7. 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. We'll see. 6. And they took their daughter to be their wives, and gave them their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgate the Lord their God, and served Beliam in the groves. So the people didn't listen in Israel. The children of Israel didn't listen, and they married people from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, from 6 different tribes, and it was the daughters and the sons. They decided to serve other gods because they got married to these other people, and then they decided in front of God because they married a different tribe, and they didn't listen, and they forgot about God. And then I also wanted to look at another one where as well as so we're gonna look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 12 through 15. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. 13. And the woman which hath an husband that believe not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. 14. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are holy. 15. But if the unbeliever depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage, is such cases, but God hath called us to peace. 16. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save the husband? Or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save the wife? So, in this verse, these people are already married to unbelievers, and I also have to mention, like in the story of Ruth and the book of Ruth, like, they weren't considered what we would consider Christian at first. One was Christian, Then one got married to the one that was Christian. They became saved. And then, yeah, and I feel like this is kind of indicative of that, as well as the book of Hosea, or the story of Hosea, and I think her name's Gomer. It's the same thing as well. So I think that's interesting. But breaking down the scripture, so this, they're saying that if a man has a husband that's not a believer, but he's pleased. Hold on a second. First, it talks about the man. It's saying that if they have a wife that doesn't believe, she can be pleased to dwell with the guy and let him not put her away. So it's saying on men and women's side, when they are unbeliever, like if a man is the unbeliever and he has a wife that's a believer, he can be sanctified by her, which sanctify means to get set apart for special use or purpose. So like, let's say your best friend was married and your best friend is a Christian and her husband's not a Christian, and she doesn't want to leave him and he doesn't want to leave her. So because the wife is a Christian, he'll still be saved because the wife, and he might also become saved through her as well. And the same thing goes for a man that is with a woman that's not Christian. They can become saved through you. And I think that is something that you also have to consider with friends too. Like when you go to work, you know, people aren't always saved just because you are. I mean, you can still be kind and nice, but you don't have to like specifically go out to lunch with the person and be like, okay, you don't have to, you don't have to be like in their house. Does that make sense? And the same thing can be said about people that are Christian. Like there's people that say they're Christian, but they're not actually Christian. They don't have a real relationship. So, them seeing you can also cause them to have a change of heart, as well as, when you're married, if you're married, your spouse can have a change of heart. So yeah.